test, little test. Little test. A little louder, you think? Little test. More tests, more tests. More tests, more tests, more tests, more tests. We are loud and clear, hopefully. More.
1, 2, 3, 4. Coming through here pretty good.
I hear it through my headset pretty well, do you?
Yep.
He's got his own headset, so it's a little bit better, I guess. Make sure it's just audible on the broadcast, because it was pretty quiet last week. Little more. Test 1, 2.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20. No, wait. 19. All right.
Should be good.
It's about 10 seconds behind, so I gotta wait
Okay.
for it to catch up.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, actually, with today's date, 3.14159. I don't know it any further than
2,
6
6.
digits. Yeah.
He sounds good. You were a little quiet.
Let's try this. Turn it up a little bit more. And go like this. 3.141592615356979.
Hello.
This is about as loud as I can go. Okay.
You could maybe even bring your mic a little closer to you, too. You're a little lower.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind
that
of gets
made
in the way if I go any closer than that.
That made a difference,
Let's turn it to this spot. The ambient seems a little bit loud.
Yeah, well, and not only that, too, you'll want to give yourself some headroom, because once this gets going, you'll get into it, so.
I know as much as anybody.
Mm-hmm.
This is an exciting fucking team.
Yeah. Well, and they play such sharp basketball, too. They don't turn the ball over. They don't do stupid stuff on defense.
Yeah.
And that's going to be what makes them tough to stop, so.
I bungled the open last weekend, so I wrote mine out this time, but...
Oh, I'm a big fan of the written open. Like, when you watch NFL film stuff and whatnot, a lot of the radio guys at that level, they'll write out their open in full,
Yeah.
and it's just a matter of making it sound smooth. You don't want to sound like you're reading it, but no, I did a...
Well, I wrote how I talk. I just don't want to talk wrong like last weekend. Ooh.
Yeah. I did a Carthage lacrosse game against the University of Wisconsin lacrosse.
Okay.
And so I knew I had to write that one out because I was going to be talking about lacrosse, and I kind of turned it into a bit where I said, that the boss of lacrosse, and the head coach, and if you don't like this intro, don't get cross. We'll have the opening toss in a few moments, et cetera, et cetera. So. Football. I like this. We have NCAA level entertainment today here.
Yeah, this has been here for the postseason. I fail the emoji puzzles sometimes. It's embarrassing.
Well, they had the one about the curious case of Benjamin Button, and I was like, I would never get that in my life, but oh well.
I've watched the play of Benjamin Button, so maybe I could get it.
I've heard of it. I have no idea what it's about. Okay, lacrosse. Football, yeah.
We already have lineups. I think it's what we expect.
For us, 11, 13, 15, 30, 32.
Yep.
For them, I'm going to guess 2, 10, 11, 13, and 35.
Yep. Nobody's missed any significant time on either team.
Yeah, they've only got one player, though, that's played all 29 games.
I think it's
crazy
2.
as it may be.
I think Wolf has, and then is it Beauchamp?
That's right.
Wolf
Beauchamp
and
has played
Beauchamp.
all 29, but he hasn't started any.
Yeah.
So. And that's a good point. I did not get a pronunciation sheet for them, so I should find
It's over
that.
here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I have it in my notes already, but
Okay.
most of the
This
guys
is
whose
all
names
rubbish
you
show
need to
stuff.
know how to pronounce aren't going to be playing today.
Yeah. So make sure I get this all entered here, nonetheless, so that I'm not messing
ahead.
anything up when I.
You track fouls and points yourself instead of using the website?
I don't. I keep it on here kind of like as a book. It's a manual trigger for me, but I'll pull up live stats and I'll have it on another screen too. So
I feel that.
Strandimo.
How long have you been doing this?
In terms of broadcast stuff, probably going back 22, 23 years. I was the play-by-play voice of UWM's women's teams in 2003 and 2004.
Nice.
So yeah, but I do more of the PA stuff, to be honest with you. I'm busy upwards of 4 or 5 nights a week.
I saw your website, so...
Yeah, so that's kind of like my main thing. But I've been getting into this more. Unfortunately, my 9-to-5 job last summer went away.
Oh.
So I've been kind of mixing a few different things, but it's been like, hey, the more of this I can find, the better. And, it being up in Wisconsin, this is something I'll never be down here as more than just a fill-in, but I love coming down when I get the chance. Great tradition. I love walking past the Heisman Trophy when you walk in and all of that. So, yeah, it's...
I don't know if we can keep it hot without... not hot without...
We could turn down the phones level, at least, if we wanted to, so... I mean, that way we're not blasting our ears, but we'll see. All right. Albina...
It's a good game.
Yeah.
Our usual guy is starting his minor league job this year.
Okay.
Cal's moving up in the world really fast, and so he doesn't have time for us plebeians. He loves us plebeians, but...
Yeah, there are a couple guys up in my neck of the woods, too, that have gotten... One of them is going to be doing the Reading Phillies.
Nice.
So, yeah. I'm thinking about getting back into the wood bat baseball thing in terms of doing some PA and play-by-play. I did that for about 7-8 years. It was all right. It comes and goes. It kind of just depends on who's staffing it,
I am something of a one-trick pony at the moment that I haven't really done much besides play-by-play and color just yet. But it'll come with time, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I always feel... Color is kind of like the thing I feel most awkward doing because I've never coached. I was a baseball player, but I got cut from my high school team my sophomore and junior years. So, I mean, I know the games. I understand them. But I'm definitely more the play-by-play mold than the color mode. But at the same time, I can do both, It's just one of those things where I get nervous.
From the Ratner Athletic Center on the south side of Chicago, we bring you the highest stakes game this building has ever hosted. The 7th-ranked Gustavus Adolphus Gusties, winners of 25 of 26 and champions of the MIAC, coming to town to take on the 6th-ranked UAA runner-up. Chicago Maroons, and a trip to Fort Wayne is on the line. Welcome inside the Ratner broadcast booth. Graham Dunwoody alongside Dan Fiver. Michael Reed's our producer. Dan, what a game we have today. These two teams play such unique blends of basketball.
Yeah, this is going to be an outstanding showdown between two teams that on paper may look kind of similar, but once you start to dig into some of the numbers a little bit further, you start to see some of the differences. Chicago, a team coached by veteran coach Mike McGrath in his 27th season, a team that makes very few mistakes. They do things very well defensively in terms of not chasing after the ball, not fouling. Great assist-to-turnover ratio when they have the basketball, and they look a lot to Shane Regan, graduate student who's averaging 19.3 points per game on the year, averaged 16 points in the first 2 rounds of the tournament. He's going to be the one that's going to try and lead the Maroons into the Elite Eight. Over on the other side, Gustavus Adolphus relies even more on Miles Barnett than Chicago relies upon Shane Regan. Miles Barnett, clearly the efficiency leader for Gustavus. He comes out and scores 19 points per game for them, has an outstanding 58.6 field goal percentage. Keep in mind, though, their second option, Jake Schmidt, was cold during the first 2 rounds, went 7 of 28 shooting. They got a little bit more production out of Andrew Quam. One thing to watch today, Gustavus a little bit smaller than Chicago. They haven't quite faced the size that Chicago has. Daniel Cochran looked very good in the first 2 rounds against Penn State Barron and Otterbein for Chicago. He will give a challenge to Andrew Quam and the Golden Gusties as the Maroons try and advance to the Elite Eight today.
Yeah, Daniel Cochran wasn't much of an interior presence in that first and second round. He attempted 16 three-pointers, just 4 2-point shots. This could be a game to show off his versatility that Mike McGrath loves so much.
It's an opportunity for Cochran, really, because he can do it all. And yes, he is the leading 3-point shooter for the Maroons at 42.2% on the season, but he's also got that 6'7" frame as a sophomore out of Brentwood, Tennessee. There's not really anyone that matches up quite so great against Cochran on the Gustavus side. So we'll see exactly how Gustavus tries to hold him down, and if Chicago can use their outstanding ball movement to their advantage to create mismatches and see if they can get a victory today.
Should the Maroons win this one, they will take on the winner of Mary Washington and UW Lacrosse down at Allen County War Memorial Coliseum in Fort Wayne, Indiana next weekend. This will be the final home game for 4 of the 5 Maroon starters, win or lose.
The Ratner Athletic Center has been a tough place for opponents in the NCAA tournament. Chicago 10-2 in postseason play here at the Ratner Athletic Center. However, you take a look at the crowd. It might be a majority Golden Gusties crowd today. A lot of folks here from Gustavus to cheer on their Gusties.
Take it downstairs for the anthem.
Women's Basketball Championship at the Ratner Athletic Center in Chicago, Illinois. Today's sectional round game features the Gustavus Adolphus Gusties and the University of Chicago Maroons. And now, those who are willing and able, please rise and remove your hats to honor America and those who support our freedom at home and abroad with the playing of our national anthem.
Well, as you said before the anthem, Dan, this is a very yellow and black heavy crowd, probably 50-50 Chicago's biggest asset, the Maroon Monsoon, out of commission as almost 2/3 of campus is already home for spring break.
Yeah, exams this week at Chicago, so you have a lot of students that have already gone home. Meanwhile, an opportunity for folks to come over from Minnesota, where the Golden Gusties were MIAC champions this year. First time that they won their conference since the 2011-2012 season. Of course, the Golden Gusties, coached by Justin DeGroot, he's in his 4th season, but he's got a .688 win percentage for the Golden Gusties. He has led them to this point. It's a senior-laden team. It's a team where they play a lot of their older players on purpose, and they're going to go with probably a little bit less of a rotation than what you'll see out of Chicago today. Not quite as deep, but at the same time, the Golden Gusties have that top-level talent in Barnett. They'll look to Schmidt. Keep an eye out also, too, for Obinan Izura, who has been outstanding shooting the ball for the Golden Gusties, particularly late in the season. He actually is second on the team in field goal percentage at 58.3%. 3 of 4 from outside the arc. They don't utilize him all that much shooting the three, but when they do find him, he's open and he takes good shots. He hits at a 65.5% clip from beyond the three-point line. So you know when he puts it up, he feels confident that he can make it. If they look to him more, he was a member of the All-MIAC tournament team, which means that he helped lead the Golden Gusties to this point. If Izura is able to find some space, look out. He's able to drain it with alacrity.
And he's been shooting the ball plenty more over his last 4 games, attempted 8.5 field goals per game while maintaining that great clip, 58% from the floor overall. And he is the next man up, the Rochester Community College transfer. Justin DeGroot, agonizing close to being his 3rd straight NCAA tournament appearance. Last year, they were the first team out, getting their bubble popped at the last possible moment by Claremont and Mud Scripps and Mary Washington, who they couldn't play next week.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, Mary Washington taking on UW-La Crosse, as you already mentioned, over in the other regional, and the winner of that game faces the winner of this game in Fort Wayne. But these are teams, again, when you look at the D3Hoops.com poll, take the computers out of it, go over and see what they're saying in terms of the experts. Hey, they think that these two teams are very evenly matched. Chicago finished 6th. The Golden Gusties finished 7th. This should be a great game between two teams that had a pretty easy time in their first 2 rounds. Chicago wasn't really challenged by Penn State Behrend or Otterbein. Gustavus was able to get by Bethany Lutheran by 16 points, beat Mary Hardin Baylor by 18 points. Now you've got a clash of titans here on the south side of Chicago today.
It was second half pullaways from both these teams the second round. Shane Regan into another locker room scored 18 points in 8 minutes in that game to help Chicago break away from a tough Otterbein team that was shooting the cover off the ball early. Meanwhile, Gustavus buried the visitors from Texas, Mary Hardin Baylor, and pulled away in that one. So neither of these teams have really had to play a full 40 minutes so far in the tournament. Gustavus playing in their 2nd ranked match of the season, Chicago in their 8th, tying a school high.
And you wonder, with the pressure of the moment, with the trip to the national round of 8 on the line, as well as with this great crowd that we have, how are these two teams that have really been able to have successful seasons, maybe haven't necessarily been challenged all that much through the year? Chicago 23-4 overall. Of course, we can talk about the fact that they were second in a tough UAA to that Emory team that's number 2 overall seed. And Gustavus in the MIAC, they went 15-1 in conference play, only have 2 losses on the season coming into today. Now, again, you have these two teams that are used to having comfortable leads in games that might end up playing in a close game that has a lot of ties and lead changes. It's going to be about poise today, and that's where, again, you look at Mike McGrath and his experience as a head coach, being around 27 years, but also the style of basketball that Chicago plays. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They'll be patient. They won't try and force things. They'll just play good, solid, fundamental basketball. And a lot of the time, the more you play within yourself in these types of games, the better you do.
Gustavus, on the other hand, makes maybe even less mistakes. 7.7 turnovers per game, not only the lowest mark in all of Division III, but in all of college basketball. No D1, D2, D3 NAIA team. None of them turn it over less than Gustavus does. They're averaging 9 fewer turnovers per game than their opponents, and they have won the turnover battle in all 29 of the games they've played this season.
So many different ways when you look at these two teams. The numbers just show that they are outstanding fundamentally. Free throw shooting, both of these teams outstanding from the line. You mentioned the turnover piece. Again, the thing may be that the Golden Gusties really do rely a lot on Miles Barnett. Took 26 shots over the course of last weekend's 2 rounds. He is the straw that stirs the drink for the Golden Gusties. If UChicago can find a way to slow him down, the question then becomes, can Gustavus use their secondary options to get a victory here on the road today?
We're about to find out. Nick Roper and Carson Cook matched up in center circle. Gustavus with no rotational pieces taller than 6'5", but Cook wins the tip, and we are underway from Hyde Park.
Even with the relative lack of size that Gustavus often has on the floor, they did out-rebound their opponents on the season. Shows you, again, how good they are at technique when it comes to rebounding. It's not always the size of the dog in the fight.
First attack comes from Gustavus, and the hook over Roper is no good by Andrew Quam, and the Maroon defense gets a stop.
Good example of what kind of defense Roper can play. Keeps his feet straight up and down. No chance of fouling there. Is able to force a tough shot, and UChicago gets the rebound as well.
Now the Maroon offense goes to work. Regan throws it back over to Joe Barry. Long pass to the corner. Roper has it. Tries to go the sideline and gets fouled. And that'll be a quick whistle on Gustavus. It'll go against Carson Cook.
First foul of the game against either team, and it's Carson Cook. He sensed that he had the baseline there to help him out, but made a little bit too much contact. And UChicago is going to try and get Gustavus into foul trouble early on in this one.
The interior lob goes to Roper. A new 20-second shot clock for the Maroons. Looking for the first point of the ballgame. Regan, high lob into Cochran. His pass is intercepted and taken away by Jake Schmidt.
Great help side defense and a rare mistake there for UChicago as they commit the turnover on their first possession of the game.
Both these teams top 3 in the nation at avoiding turnovers. UChicago, number 3, Gustavus, number 1. Now Schmidt goes to the interior and works it back out.
A lot of hand checking there by Cochran. No call. NCAA tournament game. You let a little more contact go, and there are your first points of the ball game.
Andrew Quam puts it in, battling Joe Barry. A rare time you'll see a Maroon have a size disadvantage on the interior. Quam with 4 inches on Barry. Stellar defender at that guard position, but not a defending big men. 2-0 Gustavus. Nearly another takeaway there.
Active hands, and again, Gustavus a little more aggressive defensively than UChicago, and we're seeing it already here.
There's some aggression from Shane Regan, and he puts 2 on the board, and the Maroons tie us up.
Nice move by Regan, little spin move, off glass and good, and UChicago's on the board.
No drive that Regan doesn't want to take, but there's a good drive and a score from Miles Barnett. He's got an and one.
And you have to know Barnett is going to do that. He is the one who is going to take the ball to the basket, not only leads them in shooting, but also leads them in assists. The offense begins and ends for the Golden Gusties with Barnett. UChicago got caught a little bit flat-footed, and Barnett made him pay.
Carson Cook checks out, replaced by the aforementioned Obina Izura, the sharp-shooting junior guard from Brooklyn Park. Second straight game that all of UChicago's opponents have been stateside from their native state. The only exception is Ibrahim Ali, native of Palestine. Everybody else is from Minnesota.
Free throw is good for Barnett, and they take a 5-2 lead. Barnett on the board quickly in this contest. No surprise. He's the one who leads the Golden Gusties in just about every way.
Near another turnover there as Cochran threw an errant pass to Eamon Kanan. Now has to go to work. Behind the back, Roper spinning toward the lane. Again, lost the handle. Kick out, Cochran 3. That's short and no good. Barry tips it, and Quam comes up with it. Gustavus leading 5-2.
If anything, early on, it looks like UChicago feels like they've gotten punched in the mouth a little bit here, a little bit flat-footed on the rebounds.
Eli Wolf, but an offensive rebound. Quam. Wolf will try again, and that time he drills it. Gustavus up 8-2.
We said the secondary options would make a big difference for the Golden Gusties today. There it's Eli Wolf, the senior, hitting from outside. The only Golden Gustie to start every game this year thus far, and he takes advantage of an open opportunity from the near side.
And another takeaway will energize this visiting crowd. Roper turns it over that time, and Gustavus has all the momentum early on in this contest.
Everything you could ask for and more if you're a Golden Gusties fan back in Minnesota, forcing those Maroons turnovers that they haven't committed all season long.
Barnett gets plenty of space, not a three-point shooter. And he'll pull up on Roper, and it's no good, but Barnett pulls it down, puts it up again, and sinks it.
You absolutely cannot let Miles Barnett have second chances. He hits too often on the first try. If you give him a second chance, he'll almost certainly make you pay.
10-2 Gusties there, winning the rebounding battle so far, and that's not a trend that can continue if UChicago wants to make their second ever D3 Elite Eight. 16 and a half to go. Gusties by 8. Kanaa fires a three, and it's short and no good. Rebound, Quam of Gustavus.
Not a lot of motion on the U Chicago offense right now. They're coping with what Gustavus is bringing to them.
Barnett right back to work, and he's got 7 points.
Fast start for Miles Barnett, and this is everything Gustavus could want early on.
Barry. Maroon offense needs a response soon. Quam on Roper. Gets past him. Roper turns it around to the corner for Barry. Gives the Gustavus defense time to reset. Barry sidestep three. That's way long and no good. Rebound Gustavus Barnett. They've got numbers the other way. 3-on-1 against Kanaa. And the pass is turned back around and a three put up and no good. Rebound Cochran, U Chicago.
Modern basketball right there. You have the 3-on-1. You kick it back outside to try and get 3 points. But again, Jake Schmidt, Colt last weekend, not necessarily off to a good start here with that missed three.
Cochran to the double team. There'll be an open man. It's Kanaa for three. Got it.
U Chicago needed that one. Kenna hits the three from the top of the key off the great pass by Barry. That's the ball movement U Chicago wants.
Miles Barnett right back to work with 7 points already. This time he gives it up. And it's Schmidt for the pull-up J. It's no good. Kanaa brings it down for the Maroons.
Another miss for Schmidt. He's now 7 for 30 on the tournament thus far.
Regan against the entire team. Throws to Roper. Got it.
Just like that, U Chicago gets right back into it with a pair of three-pointers. This time it's Roper, the big man from outside.
On the other way, it's Barnett kicking it out and getting past Regan. Nice nifty layup is good for Izura.
Obinan Izura, we talked about him in the pregame and what he can do from outside the arc. He can also give you a little fake and then make a move to the basket, and that was nifty for the Gusties.
Gustavus leads 14-8, 14 and a half to play in the first half. Shane Regan high up there on the all-time assist single-season board for U Chicago. Gets the ball inside and he lost it. Turning it over again, and it's U Chicago's third of the game, and that will take us to our first media timeout. We're just getting started. Gusties 14, Maroons 8 on NCAA.com. Well, this is the second straight season U Chicago is meeting the MIAC champions in the Big Dance. Last year it was U Chicago against St. John's in the first round. The Johnnies came into that game 24-3, 15-1 in the MIAC, and beat U Chicago on their home court, 72-71 in that game.
U Chicago trying to avoid the same fate, but early on it is the Gusties of Gustavus Adolphus who have the lead 14-8 in this contest, and they have started out hot in this one, 6 of 11 shooting, including 1 of 3 beyond the arc. U Chicago also with 3 turnovers thus far, uncharacteristic for them.
Gustavus winning the rebounding battle and the turnover battle. That will bear a lot of fruit if that trend continues. Miles Barnett against Joe Barry. Not an easy guy to defend, but Barry does so successfully. Turnabout back to Cook. Izura, sidestep three. It's well short and no good, and a foul committed by Gustavus on the rebounds. They'll say that Miles Barnett got a hand in there, and it'll be his first foul.
U Chicago can't be upset about that. Actually, they're going to call that one against Tyrell Beauchamp, 31
yes.
Instead of 13. Not a surprise, he's down low, the 6'4 senior out of Lakeville, Minnesota. Nonetheless, U Chicago wants to see the Gusties committing fouls. They want to get them into foul trouble as good as they can shoot from the free throw line.
Hard contact by Izura with nothing, and Izura puts it in.
Another turnover for the Maroons. We are not used to seeing this out of U Chicago. And again, Gustavus coming into this one, if you told them that they would force U Chicago to commit 4 turnovers in the first 6.5 minutes, they'd feel really good.
Gustavus forcing their opponents to commit almost 17 turnovers per game. U Chicago a hair over 9. They're already at 4. so far tonight. Regan. 2 points so far for him. He gives it up. Noah Pitt sends a three, in and out. Rebound is Cook of Gustavus.
Early on. Go ahead.
Barnett the other way, shakes off Barry and hooks it in. A little teardrop, Gustavus by 10.
Add in addition to the steals for the Golden Gusties, 9 points already from Miles Barnett. He's off to a hot start as well.
Eamon Kana gets the feed against some tight defense from Max Busley. Regan throws it long. Barry catch and drive. Now has to turn it back around with 9 to shoot. Barry stops and goes, kicks it cross court. Inside feed Regan. 3-on-1. Regan long, no good. Cannot put back, he's fouled.
Should be the second foul against Tyrell Beauchamp down low, catching Regan as he made his way to the basket. And that's the sort of active play that UChicago needs to have more of early on in this contest to get a little bit of that life back, being down 10 points already 7.5 minutes in.
Connor Beauchamp's second foul, as you said, and 12.5 to go. Eamon Kana puts in the first free throw. In that St. John's game, that was a big point of emphasis for why UChicago lost that one. They were only 11 of 20 at the line, and some of their best free throw shooters came up very unclutch.
UChicago last year struggled quite a bit at the free throw line. They have had vast improvement this season. It's been noticeable in almost everybody's percentages.
There's 2 for Eamon Kana, and he's got a team high 5 points. 18-10 Gustavus has led since the opening whistle. Miles Barnett right back to work. Throws it back this time is Zura on Regan. Bounces off, puts it up on the backboard, and no good. Kana has another rebound for UChicago as Shane Regan comes up a little slow, and we will have an associated timeout.
There was a little bit of contact with Regan, and he reached for his right rib cage. He's going to come off the court. He'll be replaced by Joe Barry. Hopefully Regan's okay. That would make a big difference for UChicago if he has to spend an extended time in this game off the court.
The Maroons really cannot afford to lose him. Shane Regan, 4th all-time in a single season for points scored. Only Derek Reich in 3 different seasons has scored more than him, and Reich's the all-time great UChicago basketball player. 18-10 Gustavus over Chicago. The Maroons have Joe Barry, Eamon Kana, LJ Moore, Phil Lawrence, and Noah Pitt on the floor right now. And Kana receives the pass, trying to shake off Busley and throws it wildly, and it is not saved. Busley has the intercepted pass. 5th turnover for UChicago. Maroons trying to settle into half court and do so successfully. Miles Barnett not on the floor right now, and Pitt taps that one out of bounds. To take us to our under 12 media timeout, Gustavus maintains their lead. It's 18-10 here at the Ratner Athletic Center. Gustavus ahead 18-10 as we welcome you back, Ramdon Woody and Dan Pfeiffer. Dan, we define these two teams as real mistake-free teams of basketball, but UChicago has been anything but through these first 8 minutes.
5 turnovers here in the first 8 minutes and 19 seconds of basketball. Uncharacteristic for UChicago, and it's been 1 each for 5 different players as well. That's not something that Coach McGrath is used to out of his team, but the Golden Gusties, so active with their hands. UChicago is looking to fire a lot of skip passes across the floor. The Golden Gusties are just too quick to the spot for that. If anything, UChicago's got to play a little bit more simply, set more screens, do more off the dribble, and they can get to the basket that way.
Gusties average 9.4 steals a game, 16 turnovers forced. Now a 3 is buried by Andrew Quam.
Boy, and if Quam gets going for the Golden Gusties, it might be good night for the Maroons. He's already got 5 in the basketball game. 38% shooter from outside, and man, what a great first 9 minutes of basketball for the Golden Gusties on the road so far.
Roper in some trouble. Outlets to L.J. Moore, the sophomore from Georgia. Lawrence can't find any spacing. Quam's his defender. Lawrence turns it around, finds Barry, sends a three. Off the back rim, no good. Rebound, UChicago, Noah Pitt. A new 20 with the shot clock was running down. Pitt, Barnett trying to pick his pocket, couldn't. The MIAC leader in steals. 8 to shoot for Barry. 5 to shoot, to the corner, Roper. Boxed up, falls down, lost the handle, and the Maroons turn it over again. It comes away to Max Busley.
6 turnover the game for the Maroons. To give you an idea, when they played Emory, the number 1 team in the country, on February 1st, they only committed 5 the whole game.
Now a hook for Quam, and it's good, and Gustavus continues to stretch their lead. Now ahead 23-10.
Barnett and Quam beating the Maroons on their own. They have 16 combined. UChicago has only gotten 10 points. UChicago can't keep settling for threes either. The Gusties are contesting those shots. UChicago not getting them. Now they'll look inside and back out.
L.J. Moore on the attack. Turns it around. Phil Lawrence sidestep triple. Got it.
Well, that was a contested shot, but Lawrence was able to get it to fall. The junior from New York City, with a hand in his face, gets a much-needed 3 points for the Maroons.
He is a playoff performer. 12 last year against St. John's. 14 first round against Barron, but Miles Barnett with a smash.
We're going to call that a breakdown defensively for UChicago, because when Miles Barnett basically has half of the floor to himself, he's going to take it to the hoop, and he's going to put it in with some style.
D3 dunks Miles Barnett, 25-13 Gustavus. Nick Roper again. Looking left side, now to L.J. Moore, who pulls it down. Defended by Barnett, and he traveled. The Maroons continue to be plagued by turnovers, their 7th of the ballgame.
And no surprise here that Mike McGrath says, hey, I just need to change things up. Shane, you good? Get out there. Who we got? Cochran, get out there. Lawrence, stay out there. What do we need to do? What combination can we get out there that gives us the energy we need to change the momentum of this game?
Gustavus by 12 and the ball. They are shooting 61% from the floor, have forced UChicago into 7 turnovers and have committed none of their own. Barnett swings it out, and Schmidt lets it go, gives to Quam, back to Barnett. Spacing the floor, now it's Wolf. Wolf goes to Barnett, shakes off Regan. Barnett got to be careful here, turns it back out. 7 to shoot for Quam. Quam, long fade away and good.
Andrew Quam, red hot right now, fading away, and he gets it to go. Everything falling for the Gusties. 9
for Quam, 11 for Barnett. 27-13 Gusties. Lawrence worked it inside for Roper. Gustavus defense lost for a moment. Roper, a long throw, and it's good. Nick Roper with his 4th and 5th points.
He says, Andrew Quam, you hit a tough shot. I can hit a tough shot too. 2 defenders right in front of him, but he gets it to go while he's moving to his right.
Carson Cook out to Wolf. Thought about a 3. And now turns it back out. Quam looking for another 3. That's off the mark. Roper rebounds.
Big defensive board for UChicago if they can string together a couple buckets.
Whoa, hard contact in transition, and a foul is a blocking foul, and it'll be an and 1 for Nick Roper.
Huge sequence for Nick Roper. Maybe a good question. A lot of the Golden Gusties fans wondering if that should have been a charge instead of a block. Nonetheless, Roper gets to go. That little extra bit of continuation they're now allowing in college basketball. He gets buckets on consecutive possessions. He'll get an and 1 here. Quick sub for UChicago as Joe Barry comes back out here, but almost single-handedly, Nick Roper bringing UChicago back into this game, trying to narrow it back down to single digits.
You saw the replay. You can make the call. So now Andrew Quam checks out after picking up his first foul, and they'll bring Connor Beauchamp back in on those 2 fouls.
Interesting decision. Yes, Quam commits that foul, but he had been hot at the other end for the Golden Gusties, whereas you bring Beauchamp back out. He's the top rebounder for the Golden Gusties, averaging 8 per game last weekend. However, he does have the 2 fouls. He might lose his services if he gets a third here in the last 8 minutes of the first half.
Roper's free throw goes in and out. Gusties want to move in transition. Izura attacks Barry. Izura to the basket and 2 more.
One of the things I'm really impressed about with Barnett is how he sets the tempo for the offense, bringing the ball up the court, and with his first move with the ball outside the arc. That really establishes everything else the Gusties do.
That pass tipped away from Barry by Izura, and the Maroons will keep it with 17 on the shot clock. Media timeout. Gustavus still in front, 29-17 on NCAA.com. Back here at the Ratner Athletic Center, 7:37 to go first half. Gustavus Adolphus leads UChicago 29-17, and the services of one Miles Barnett have been a big reason why.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you out there, when you listen to your podcast or watch YouTube, set the speed to like 1.1 or 1.2. That's what it looks like with Miles Barnett on the floor. He's a step faster than everyone out there right now, and that's what's establishing things for Gustavus as they get that offensive momentum going. And look at some of these numbers right now. 11 points, 5 of 6 shooting for Barnett. He's got an offensive board and a putback. He's gotten a defensive board. He's got an assist already, and he's been on the floor the entire game thus far. He has been the player that has led Gustavus to the point where they have this 12-point lead here with 7:37 left in the first.
Gustavus shooting 62% from the floor, winning the turnover battle by 7, and holding serve on the glass. UChicago will have to reverse 1 or probably 2 of those trends to try and win this game. Here's Cochran for 3. Got it!
Great look by Cochran. They gave him a little bit of extra space, and he took advantage. He needs that to get going.
Barnett back to Beauchamp. Gusties by 9. Izura is pushed off a spot by Barry. Izura penetrates. Now in trouble, turns it back around. Barnett now slow and then speeds it up. Barnett throws it out. Beauchamp for 3. Got it.
Barnett's so aware of what's going on the court. He sets 2 screens outside, then says, hey, I'm going to challenge you inside, then I'm going to pass back out to the top of the key, and it works out for the Gusties.
The Maroons putting their tallest defender on Miles Barnett, Nick Roper, with 7 inches on the Gusties player, but he is a facilitator as well as a scorer. Regan goes downhill, throws out. Kana, contested 3. That's long and no good. Barnett rebounds for Gustavus. Maroons need to get set quickly, and Barnett works himself into trouble. Matched up with Regan. Barnett to the corner off of Roper's foot out of bounds. It'll stay with Gustavus. 20-second shot clock.
We keep talking about Barnett and the way he leads the offense, but it does make a difference. And if you're UChicago, the first thing that happens when you give up a defensive rebound, you've got to race back down the floor because Barnett is so fast and so decisive with the basketball that if you're just off by half a step, he can make you pay.
And he's been changing speeds in an instant. Barnett to Wolf for 3. That's off the mark. Roper rebounds for UChicago. Roper with a step on his defender, now turns it back around, and Regan wants to go to work. Regan downhill. Just fades away, and it's no good. Kana pokes it out. Barnett's got it for Gustavus. Barnett speeds himself up, spins into the lane. Barry with the block. Izura has the board. Barnett from 10, and he sinks it.
Another second chance for Barnett, and another time that he makes UChicago pay. This time it's Izura that gets the offensive rebound, but when it comes to offensive boards in this game thus far, UChicago has given up too many of them to Gustavus. That's now 3 that they've allowed, and it seems like Gustavus always capitalizes.
That was a problem early in the game against Otterbein as well. They couldn't get those defensive boards, but they cleaned it up as the game went on. Roper and a blocking foul on Barnett. That'll be Barnett's first, and it'll send Nick Roper to the free throw line.
Barnett not particularly happy with the call, but it looked like he was in motion. Again, if you're UChicago now, you've got to do everything right, being in the hole that you're in, down 14. You do have the advantage of being at home, and you have a little bit of that momentum. But again, this Gusties crowd so loud. They're on this half of the floor right now. You got to make your free throws, and Roper does the job. He's leading the Maroons right now with 8 points.
They've fallen into these kinds of holes so far this year. That Illinois Wesleyan game, they came back, almost tied that, but they lost. That Wash U game on the road, almost came back but lost. And then NYU, the deepest hole they dug themselves into. So this has been the story for how UChicago's lost games. They've been sluggish in the first half.
Illinois,
anything but.
Illinois Wesleyan, a great team out of the CCIW. They were the AQ out of that conference this year.
2 of UChicago's 4 losses already have punched their tickets to Fort Wayne in yesterday's game. Quam rolls along the rim and it's no good. And the Maroons get a stop. Emory beat Yeshiva yesterday. Illinois Wesleyan topped Endicott, both on their home floors. Wash U season ended with a loss to St. Thomas. Regan for 3. Got it!
Once again, a lot of space for Regan, and that makes a big difference. If Gustavus stays off of these UChicago shooters, it is possible for the Maroons to shoot their way back into this game.
Quam, a long interior pass. He finds Carson Cook. Gets to a driving man. Schmidt contested, and it will not roll down. Rebound UChicago. Barnett got to be careful here to not reach in too much on Roper and pick up that second foul. Now Barnett trying to sell an elbow. 4.5 to go. Regan into a double team. Lost the ball, turned it over. Azura comes up with it, the UChicago turnover of the first half. Barnett, shimmy, shakes off Regan and scores again. He's got 15.
Not only does Barnett get that bucket, let's point this out. Not only does UChicago have 8 turnovers that they've committed, they have yet to force a Gustavus turnover. When you take care of the basketball the way that the Golden Gusties are taking care of it, it's no surprise that you've got this lead.
The hardest team in America to turn over. Eamon Kana works to Cochran. Thought about a 3, now goes past Cook. Cochran continues to attack and puts it off the backboard and in.
Sheer will on the part of Daniel Cochran. Aggressive in the post, and UChicago has got to get a little bit more aggressive against this Gusties team.
Barnett goes aggressive, and that one's no good. Roper on the defense and has the rebound. Into the corner. Cochran 3. Got it!
Great ball movement again for UChicago, and when they get down the floor quickly and find Cochran open on the side like that, they can get back into this basketball game by hitting shots just like that.
Well, the Maroons wouldn't give up. They goes too quickly, and they had their first turnover. 2-on-1. Cochran shakes him off. Barry's got the ball. Maroons trail by 4.
Nifty little up and under by Joe Barry, and now the Maroon fans are getting into it.
UChicago making their move late in the first half. Gustavus 36, UChicago 32. A timeout by Justin DeGrude on NCAA.com. Welcome back to UChicago basketball on NCAA.com. It's 36-32. Gustavus Adolphus has led since the opening whistle. Scores from around the NCAA tournament. We have 4 games today. Trinity, Connecticut, beating up Hood 73-55. They are well on their way to securing their trip to Fort Wayne. Tufts doing the same to Wesleyan, 49-32 in that game. And later tonight, Mary Washington will take on UW La Crosse. That game tipping off in about 30 minutes from Mary Washington.
Here in UChicago, it's been the Maroons fighting their way back into the game. They're on a 7-0 run over the last minute and 8-12-2 run over the last 2:51. Daniel Cochran, 3 of his last 4. Nick Roper, 3 of 3. And they forced their first turnover against the Golden Gusties, and look at what it turns into. A basket, and the lead cut more than in half.
Gusties by just 4. Looking for an offensive spark. Here's Izura. That's short and no good. Cook tips it out, but Barry secures it.
For as hot as the Golden Gusties were at the start of this game, they've gone cold in recent times. Really, the shooting percentage is about even at this point.
Here's Roper from the corner. Moves in, fades away. Bank no good. Cochran O-board, kick out. Kana, three! Got it!
UChicago has found the stroke here late in the first half, and it's a 1-point game.
36-35. Izura driving on Cochran. Not an easy thing to do. Cochran with the defense. Wolf. They switch him on. Swing back. Schmidt. Three. That's long and no good, but a foul committed by Joe Barry.
Big foul, and you never want to foul a jump shooter. Mike McGrath is not going to be happy about that one. 3 free throws coming up for Carson Cook, who has not scored a point yet in this basketball game. He is the worst free throw shooter on the Gustavus team, averaging just 64.9% from the line. But whenever you give a guy 3 chances at the line, you always know you didn't do something right defensively.
It's Jake Schmidt, not Carson Cook. That's
Ooh, okay.
a much rarer free throw miss. He's an 86% free throw
Yeah,
shooter.
he's the best free throw shooter on the team. So a big difference there. But again, Schmidt really has struggled, it seems like, in the NCAA tournament. That's his first point of the day. He came in as the second leading scorer for the Golden Gusties, averaging 15.1 per game.
UChicago now +4 on the glass. You want them to get to at least +10. That's what Gustavus' opponents that have beaten them, only 2, have done so far this season. Third of 3 free throws for Schmidt is good, and Gustavus lead by 3.
2 out of 3 ain't bad, and it makes it a 3-point lead for the Golden Gusties, but the Maroons with a chance to tie and make this one a lot more even as we wind our way towards halftime.
15-4 run the Maroons are on right now. Regan throws back. 15 to go. Regan spinning. Passes to a driving Kana all the way on the attack. He's fouled. Eli Wolf reached in there, and that will be the 6th team foul on Gustavus. Eamon Kana will head to the free throw line.
Eamon Kana, outstanding 3-point shooter for the Maroons. Hit 5 of them last weekend, 43.5%. The Gusties respected that. He was able to get to the basket. Let's see what he can do from the line.
Shane Regan continues to be a facilitator. He knew exactly where the ball would need to go for Eamon Kana to split the defense, and the senior from Atlanta can get downhill at times, though he is a 3-point specialist. Second for Kana is good. We're back to a 1-point game.
First Maroon in double digits with 10 is Kana, whereas Miles Barnett has 15 to lead the Gusties right now.
38-37. Schmidt throws to Cook. Cook turns, throws Schmidt. Schmidt sidestep into a double team of the 2 UChicago big men. Gets it out to Cook. A screen coming from Quam. Cook cut off by Regan. 8 to shoot. Cook whips it out. Schmidt sends a 3. That's no good. Offensive board is not secured, and Barry is bumped into by Schmidt.
Great team defense by the Maroons to hold through almost the extent of the shot clock there.
Giving it up around the horn. Cochran 3. That's no good. A foul committed on the rebound by UChicago. Nick Roper bowled his man over there for his 2nd personal.
That's one that in a couple other sports they would say he was going for the ball and they wouldn't call the foul. It just happened to be that the body was in front of him. Only 1 foul on him, not too much of a problem. He'll come off the floor, though, in favor of L.J. Moore.
And he's been a vital cog to UChicago's defensive strategy these past couple of games, and so these past couple of possessions, I should say. And so we'll see if L.J. Moore can have the same impact, played a lot less basketball in his career than Nick Roper has.
Nick Roper does so much for this Maroons team, tallest player on the floor, and he's running kind of a point guard role for UChicago.
Miles Barnett on Barry, a good matchup there, and Barnett wins on the 8-foot jumper.
A few years ago, there was a player up at Marquette University by the name of Marcus Howard, and what made Howard so dangerous was the fact you could guard him with just about anybody. He was the smallest player on the floor, but he could hit you from just about anywhere, and Miles Barnett feels like that kind of player, 6'1", and he can score in every way you can think of, 17 already in the game.
Regan gets the ball in the corner, runs into a double team. Regan just finds an angle and sinks it. How'd he do that?
Little left-handed touch shot from the near side for Shane Regan, and that keeps UChicago within 1.
Lets the Maroons double dip here in the end of the first half. Shot clock will turn off when they get the ball back. Cook throws back Wolf. Around a Barnett screen, looking to get it to Barnett, and does. Barnett guarded by Kana. Barnett picking his way inside, throws it out. Andrew Quam contested three, no good. Maroon rebound, Joe Barry. 9 seconds on the game clock. Barry works through, and he almost lost the ball. Throws it out. Over to LJ Moore for three. That's no good. And that's how the first half will come to an end. Gustavus leads wire to wire, but UChicago not going away. It is 40-39. What stood out to you in that first half, Dan?
Well, you absolutely have to be happy with where you're standing if you're UChicago, considering that the lead at one point was double digits for quite a while for Gustavus throughout that first half. You were able to come back strong in the second part of that first half. You started to figure out some things. You got some hands and faces. You were able to adjust to the tempo with which Gustavus takes to the floor. And not only that, it looked like UChicago was a little bit more fit than Gustavus. Gustavus seemed to play a little bit slower as they got a little bit more frustrated and some of the shots didn't start to fall. Now, if you're UChicago, you've got to hold on to that momentum through the half and come back out in the second half and see if you can get the victory in front of your home fans.
Some key stats in that first half. UChicago winning the rebounding battle 16-10, identical 3-3 in the offensive rebounding category. The Maroons turned it over 8 times. Gustavus just once. UChicago shot 54%. 8 of their 13 made shots had an assist. Gustavus 51% and just 4 of 17 in that half.
Two things stand out for me from those stats. First off, yes, 8-1 turnover margin, not great for UChicago. However, it was 7-0 with about 6 minutes left in the first half, which means that it was 1-1 after that, and that's a big reason why UChicago got back into the game. The other thing, hey, we talked about some of the size that UChicago has on Gustavus, but guess what? Points in the paint. Gustavus is finding their way into the lane. Barnett using his speed to get near the basket. Gustavus 26 points in the paint versus just 10 for UChicago. They've been getting those high percentage shots, especially early on in the contest, and that's the reason why they have this 1-point lead.
Miles Barnett, a very rare breed, 6'1" guard who's never made a career three-pointer. He does his work down low, and he'll keep trying to do that when we come back with second half action. 40-39, Gustavus over UChicago on NCAA.com. 20 minutes to go on the campus of the University of Chicago. We have a 1-point ball game entering the second half. Gustavus Adolphus 40, UChicago 39. Graham Dunwoody, Dan Pfeiffer, Michael Reed is our producer. And Dan, we saw a really intense first half. Some really special players with some really special plays.
Yeah, and to see UChicago fight back the way that they did, again, it's a question of if they can carry that momentum into the second half. One thing about Mike McGrath's teams, they're very smart basketball-wise. And sometimes this season, they've shown that they can fall behind the team, but they're just kind of reading their tendencies. And once they get a feel for what the opponent can do, they're able to adjust, come back out, and have the poise to do what they have to capture victories. Obviously, they've done it a lot this year. You've got two teams on the floor that only have 6 losses between them. UChicago did fall behind double digits there for a good chunk of the first half, but they brought it back to a 1-point game. And here in the start of the second half, they're going to get the basketball with a chance to take the lead to start this second half right straight up.
Mike McGrath in year number 27 at the helm of UChicago, making his first trip beyond the first round since year 2. Meanwhile, Gustavus also won their first NCAA tournament game since 2003 when they were the national runner-up to Williams College, 2 points away from their first ever national championship. They're as good a contender as they need to make it back there, but they have to escape with a win on the road in these final 20 minutes.
You mentioned in the open to the broadcast the near misses for Gustavus the last couple of years. Well, they have made the most of their trip to the NCAA tournament thus far. Again, they had the lead through almost the entirety of the first half of this contest. But now with UChicago scratching and clawing their way back within a point, and again with the basketball to start the second half, Gustavus is going to have to hold on for another 20 minutes if they want to make it to Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Both teams looking to recruit for the Hoosier State. They will take on Mary Washington or UW Lacrosse, whose game tips off in just about 10 minutes. For now, we begin our second half with a UChicago possession and a 1-point ball game. The Maroons did a good job spacing the floor and getting all over the court late in that first half. Now it's a Regan step-back 3, and it's no good. Out of bounds off of Gustavus, and Nick Roper did a good job of getting hands on ball to force that rebound.
Alert little play by Roper there. He knew he had a body in front of him, and he wasn't going to be able to grab the basketball. Tapped it just enough to go off. The Golden Gusties player out of bounds. UChicago gets it with a fresh 20 on the shot clock.
Regan gets the ball right back, wants the interior pass to Roper. He's got it. Roper puts it up and makes it, and UChicago leads for the first time tonight.
We talked in the open about how Roper can use his size down low. Not something he's necessarily always used to doing, being one of the best three-point shooters that you'll see coming out of the UAA. But their post move, it worked. UChicago with their first lead.
Plum fights off Cochran but misses the shot. Rebound Roper again. Working toward a double-double, 11 points and 6 boards. Regan explodes, kicks Cochran, sends a 3. Got it!
All of a sudden, UChicago comes out of the half on fire. First 5 points of the half, and they've got a 4-point lead for the first time of the day. UChicago, again, that momentum that they took into halftime, none of it died over the 15 minutes they were in the locker room.
Now a 3 on the other end is too long and no good for Schmidt. Roper rebounds again, but then turns it over, a lazy pass. Wolf. New life for Gustavus. Schmidt back to Wolf. Sidesteps Cochran, sends an open 3. Got it!
Roper almost looked uneasy with the ball at times in the first half. He looked very confident through the first minute or so of this second half, but there, a little mistake, and it ends up costing the Maroons 3 points.
See if Roper can make up for that with another huge rebound coming up in these next couple minutes. Regan gives back Kana. Maroons by a point, 11 to go. Long pass, Roper to Regan. Regan attacks Barnett, works it out. Cochran, 3 to shoot. Cochran to the other corner. Kana snaps a 3. Got it!
Twice on that possession alone, UChicago drives the lane and kicks back out with open opportunities. Gustavus has to find a way to adjust to that.
Now Barnett on the other end going to work on Barry. Barnett throws it up. It's short and no good. Barnett gets his own miss, puts it back up and in. And Miles Barnett secures another offensive board and another 2 second chance points.
When the Gusties need 2 points, pretty simple. Clear the other 4 guys out and just let Barnett go to work down low. Didn't get the first one, got the second one.
He's shooting 9 of 13. Regan downhill. Regan to work and in. 9 for Regan. Barnett quickly the other way. Give back, Wolf. Now Barnett again. He won the battle with Barry the last time. He'll try again to the basket. That will go. 21 for Miles Barnett.
Teammates? What teammates? When you're as good as Miles Barnett is around the basket, you don't need him. And he's got the last 4 for the Golden Gusties.
He will be the reason that the Gusties stay in this game. UChicago's offense still blazing hot. 47 Gustavus, 49 for UChicago. 16:59 to go, second half. Barry works at top of the key, gives to Cochran, thought about a 3, now sidesteps. Barry's got a wide open triple. That's no good. Offensive board, Regan. Give back Cochran to the corner. Kanaa snaps. And he misses it. Rebound on, and a foul committed by Joe Barry. Committed against Joe Barry by Eli Wolf. It'll stay with UChicago.
Wolf a little bit too physical with the rebound. When you have the body position, you don't need to do anything with your arms. Wolf pushed off the UChicago player. As a result, UChicago gets the basketball back.
Maroons continuing to advance in the rebounding battle. Kanaa on the inbound, a new 20-second shot clock. Regan double team, long whip, Roper for 3, got it!
You know, in the first half, those passes weren't working for UChicago, but the Golden Gusties have gotten a little bit nervous and started collapsing on the ball. That's left players open on the opposite side of the floor, and UChicago took advantage.
You know Shane Regan isn't going to stop trying, though. There's a 3 on the other end, and it rattles home. Carson Cook gets the 3, and it's a 2-point game once again.
Both of these teams have gotten very comfortable here early on in the second half, and the pace of scoring has increased.
This is going to be a 40-minute ball game. Roper. Guarded by Andrew Quam, gives it up for Barry. Barry on Barnett. Regan. ISO ball. Long pass again. Roper receives in the paint. He's fouled, and he will go to the line. High-octane second half reaches our first media timeout. UChicago leads 52-50 here on NCAA.com.
Coming out of break, you see the replay here with Nick Roper kind of taking on more of a forward role at this point here. He's listed as a guard despite the fact he's 6'7", but that's another possession where UChicago uses him down low, and he's able to get to the free throw line.
UChicago, Nick Roper is one of those 2 big transfers that can do so many things. And when I interviewed Mike McGrath before the season even started, I asked about Nick Roper being listed as a guard, and he told me he's in everything.
Yeah.
Nick Roper can do.
Hey, it's basketball in 2026. What does position mean to anything? I mean, it's just a letter on a roster. Roper, again, the best outside shooter for UChicago in terms of consistency, but you can also use him down low. Excuse me, he's got Cochran as a complement, who's also that big body as well. But yeah, Roper, you know, he comes from Illinois Wesleyan, very successful program. We already talked about the fact that they came out of the CCIW as that conference's champion. Here with UChicago, he's found a great home. And again, you've seen him around the ball so much. He's gotten a little bit of that confidence back in the second half that we didn't see early on in the basketball game. Now here at the line with the chance to give UChicago that 4-point lead right back.
Obina Izura is back in for Justin DeGrude's team, the 6th man off the bench for Gustavus, and the next man up. Nick Roper puts the first free throw in. He leads the Maroons with 15 points and with 7 rebounds. 3 Maroons in double figures. Roper, Cochran, and Kanaa. Shane Regan is 1 point away from joining them. Roper makes it a 2-score game. 54-50.
And again, to have 3 Maroons in double figures without Regan.
Schmidt spacing the floor. It's no good. Barnett had it for a moment, and it was off of him, and the Maroons get the stop.
To quick finish that thought, yeah, when you've got secondary options for the Maroons that are succeeding the way Kanaa, Cochran, and Roper have succeeded in this game, again, another big reason why the Maroons have been able to turn this thing around over the course of the last 10 minutes of basketball time, 5 in the first half, 5 in the second.
The Maroons trailed by as many as 14 in the first half. They now have their largest lead at 4. Regan works around, back to Kanaa, steps from a long 2 and sinks it.
15 now for Eamon Kenna. And again, multiple options for the Maroons, whereas the Golden Gusties just have to keep on relying on Barnett.
And here is Barnett, matched up with Cochran. Barnett attacks the basket, and one.
Now, granted, when we say relying on Barnett, not a bad option to rely upon. He's able to get 2 and maybe 3 out of it here. UChicago's going to have to go to the bench and know a pin.
Only the 4th foul that's been called on UChicago all game. They're in no real danger, unlike some games this season. Miles Barnett can make it a 3-point game with a free throw. His 2nd trip to the line so far today. Looking for his 24th point. And it's good. 56-53, UChicago over Gustavus.
If you're UChicago, keep moving the basketball. Really, both teams have settled into the style of play that they want to have. And if you're Gustavus, hey, you just got to keep on springing Barnett each time down the floor.
Regan gets double-teamed and turns it over. Nifty play there by Schmidt. Gustavus can tie with a 3. Barnett's just going to go downhill again, and he's fouled by Berry. He will go right back to the free throw line.
You see now Barnett trying to initiate some contact when he comes down to the floor, trying to force the Maroons into a little bit more foul trouble, which may come in handy later in the contest. Again, you said it. UChicago, they don't commit many fouls. They haven't really throughout the season. That's part of the way that they play defense, but now Barnett's starting to force the issue.
Barnett's career high of 29 points was set in the MIAC championship against St. John's. He played 37 minutes and got 29 points on 14 of 17 shooting. And with this free throw, he is now 3 off of that career high.
And at some point, if you're UChicago, you have to say, hey, someone else has to beat us. You double, you triple Barnett if you need to. You have to force Gustavus to go to a second option.
56-55. Roper on the pass from Regan. Back to Berry. Maroons haven't penetrated just yet. Regan, sidestep, 3. Got it!
When Regan took that step to the right, the defender didn't follow, and that's way too much space for a shooter like Shane Regan is.
Schmidt attacking Berry downhill. Missed the shot. The tip is good for Connor Beauchamp.
Yeah, they're going to count that basket for Beauchamp, but I actually think it was off the UChicago fingertip that it went in. Bit of an error there for Maroons. Call it an own goal, and it works out for the Golden Gusties.
Beauchamp was going up strong anyhow. Now Regan again. Right back to work. He is fouled, and he will head to the line. These two teams continue to trade points with that foul on Carson Cook, his 2nd.
You do have Eli Wolf with 3 fouls right now for Gustavus. Cook has 2. Beauchamp has 2. Over on the other side, Nick Roper, the only one with 2 fouls for UChicago. You don't want to see foul trouble become something that plays in if you're either one of these teams. On the other side, hey, you know what? When you look at some of these guys that have 2 fouls, maybe you go at them when you head down low.
Regan, an 81% free throw shooter entering this game, but he missed the first. He has the interesting free throw shooting motion where he never dribbles the basketball no matter what, just head level and go.
We've talked about the fact that we've seen a lot less of Jake Schmidt shooting the ball. Cold as he's been through the NCAA tournament, he comes off the floor in favor of Eli Wolf, who does return with the 3 fouls.
Schmidt 0 for 6 today, only points came on a couple of free throws. Regan's 2nd is good, a 3-point game. Roper defending Barnett. He gives it up for Obina Izura. Cook. Wolf streaking open in the interior. Wolf onto the basket, finding an angle. No good. Roper brings it down for the Maroons.
Another rebound for Roper. He's been around the basket more both offensively and defensively, and it's worked out for the Maroons and Mike McGrath.
16 and 8 for Nick Roper, looking to pass it to the interior. Now gives it for Kana instead. Regan. Back to Roper. Roper with 8 to shoot. Got to find a play here. Roper wants to go downhill. Roper lost the ball. It's stripped and taken away by Barnett. The MIAC steals leader gives it up. Beauchamp for 3. That's off. And the rebound long is tracked down. Still alive. Kana recovers it in the front court. Puts it up and misses it. Out of bounds. Pitt saves it. Out to Lawrence. Fires a 3. Got it.
That starts with Noah Pitt and his work along the baseline to save that ball from going out of bounds. Great pass back out. UChicago takes advantage, and that'll be an offensive foul at the other end.
Izura bowled Regan over. And the Maroon crowd is energized. If you thought the Gustavus crowd was going to dominate, that is not the case. Chicago is here, almost 1,000 strong, trying to will their team to an Elite Eight victory.
Now, the Gustavus fans don't like that call, but it actually is a good call, and I'll explain why. It is the angle at which the offensive player is traveling. If the defensive player, no matter what that angle is, even if it's away from the basket, is parallel to, or we should say perpendicular to that line, that becomes a charge. No, he wasn't moving towards the basket. The defender can even be up in the air. They don't even have to be on the ground. If they are on that perpendicular, that's a charge. That's exactly what happened there.
All right, thank you to our rules analyst, Dan Pfeiffer, 12 on the shot clock. Shane Regan with the basketball. Regan cross, kick, Lawrence again! Got it!
Boy, the momentum has changed in this building from what it was at the start of the game. Timeout, Gustavus!
Chicago with all the momentum. This building is loud right now, and the Maroons lead 66-57. 12:09 to go, second half from the Ratner Athletic Center.
The last 6 points in the basketball game have been scored by Chicago and Philip Lawrence. Coming off of a ball screen. Nice kick out to Lawrence. And the touch is there. That forces the timeout for the Golden Gusties. Biggest lead of the contest for Chicago. It's at 9, and all of a sudden the Ratner Athletic Center is rocking.
Chicago now has 13 threes made on 24 attempts. They set a school record earlier this year when they made 18 triples in a blowout win over Trinity, Texas. Now the Maroons 5 shy of that number, and they have their largest lead at 9.
Everything has gone Chicago's way here in this second half. It is a 7-0 run for the Maroons if you include the free throw before the 2 3-pointers. 10-2 over the last 2:39. They've hit 5 of their last 6 shots. They're 4 of their last 5 from outside the arc. Chicago maybe looked a little bit shaky to start this one, but again, we've seen that from this Maroons team. They're a poised group. Mike McGrath, a veteran coach of 27 years. He knows how to get his team into the right spot to win games like this.
Barnett right back to work, and he scores 2 on Barry. Still no double team, and Barry has not won that matchup very often tonight.
Golden Gusties lost the script on the last few possessions, getting away from Barnett around the basket. Out of the timeout, they go back to the bread and butter. He's got 28.
One shy of his career high. Noah Pitt gives back to Lawrence on the interior. Pass to Cochran. He was stripped with no call, and the ball comes up to Barnett. Barnett gets rid of it, goes to Quam. Gustavus gets the stop. Barry's got to recover quickly here against the talented junior. And this time he works out. Quam sends a 3. That is short and no good. Philip Lawrence, 15 of 19 shooting in his postseason career. He gets downhill here and almost turned it over as Carson Cook tipped it out. Media timeout. Chicago 66, Gustavus 59 from the Ratner Athletic Center. Welcome back to Chicago basketball on NCAA.com. Let's take another look at scores from around this tournament bracket. U Chicago ahead of Gustavus 66-59. Earlier today, Trinity, Connecticut. They got Gerald Okorogo back, and they are a wagon once again. They defeated Hood soundly, 88-71. Meanwhile, Tufts overcame Wesleyan, 75-61, to set up an all-NESCAC matchup in Fort Wayne between Trinity and Tufts. Meanwhile, the game that U Chicago will play, UW La Crosse ahead of Mary Washington 10-5 early in the first half of that one.
Sometimes we like to complicate the game more than it has to be. Oftentimes, it is just about how well you put the ball into the basket. Gustavus, first half, 51.5% field goal percentage. Second half, gone down a little bit to 46.7%. U Chicago in the first half, 54.2% field goal percentage. They're now hitting at a 64% clip in this second half. They're hitting shots, they're getting open looks, they're taking shots a little bit quicker in the offense. That's making a difference, and that's why the Maroons are now up 7.
The Maroons have hit 6 of their 9 3-point attempts in this half. 13 3-pointers on the game. Regan in some trouble here. He works his way out of it, goes to Barry. Some blanket man defense being played, so Barry drives downhill, works it back out. Pitt snaps a 3. Got it!
Right there, you see it again. Gustavus is biting on the drive by U Chicago. That kick out is there, and they're hitting it most of the time.
Gustavus just needs to keep hitting shots. U Chicago cannot be stopped right now. Izura downhill, Regan fouls him, and that will send Obina Izura to the free throw line as Regan picked up his first foul.
It's a bit of a tough spot here for Gustavus because right now they actually don't even have Barnett out on the floor at the moment. He'll come in for the shooter Izura here, but they're not a team that necessarily runs a lot of sets. They have good sets. We saw it at times in the first half. Some of the sets that they ran in the first half looked like they were being set up by ChatGPT. They were so mechanical. At the same time here in the second half, they've relied a lot on Barnett individually. They give him a quick breather here out of that media timeout, and we do see Izura hit the second of 2 free throws. Barnett will come back on the floor, but they've got to start hitting some outside shots and doing more than just having Barnett attack the basket if they want to throw off this U Chicago D.
Your 2 pathways back in, I would say, are finding a way to slow down the Maroon offense and continuing to feed Barnett, or start hitting threes, which Barnett is not known for doing. Regan works his way left, and he lost the ball for a moment, and he's fouled as hooking and holding Regan was Jake Schmidt. It is the correct call, and it will be the first on Schmidt.
We said it in the open to the broadcast. Gustavus much more aggressive defensively than U Chicago. That's an example. Going after the ball, reaching, yet almost creating the turnover, but you know what? You pay the cost when you make the contact and you commit that foul. The Gusties now have 5 team fouls. U Chicago close to the bonus here with almost 10 minutes left.
Regan's NBA 3 rattles in and out. Rebound Schmidt. Barnett wants the ball. He's matched up with Noah Pitt this time, a matchup he's not seen so far. And we'll see how that goes. He tries to spin, but he turns it over. Noah Pitt wins that battle. Regan the other way. Throw out Cochran. Inside, Barry attacks and scores.
Great sequence for U Chicago there. First, the physical defense by Pitt disrupts Barnett. Then the bucket at the other end on the nice look to the backdoor pass.
Pitt fouls Eli Wolf, and with continuation, we'll expect that'll be a shooting foul. Barnett was not too keen to go right back to that matchup with Noah Pitt that made him commit his first turnover of the game. It is not a shooting foul.
Bit of a surprise.
Schmidt inbounds, and it's taken away. So Gustavus with back-to-back turnovers.
Remember, U Chicago only forced 1 in the first half.
Throw out Pitt for 3. That's no good. Flying in is Cochran, and a foul committed. It is against Gustavus. It'll be their 6th. Schmidt picks up number 2.
And that's just contact on the board right there. And give Gustavus credit. They're showing a lot of fight. They're showing a lot of heart. They're trying to play physical, aggressive basketball, as we've talked about all game long. However, U Chicago, again, they're smart. They position themselves well. They're not intimidated by teams that play like Gustavus does. Right now, with this 10-point lead, they're taking advantage. Every time Gustavus commits a foul, they say, hey, we're one step closer to the bonus. Let's get to open spots on the floor and hit shots from there.
U Chicago got an article in the Wall Street Journal just this these past couple of days. Jason Gay was the writer, and they really mentioned how, as Lawrence pulls up and sinks a shot here, they really mentioned how you have to be smart to get into UChicago, which is a double-edged sword. It means you're going to be smart, but it also means the amount of players you can actually recruit who can pass the admissions process is decreased.
But you're going to have a team of intelligent players who can play smart basketball, and Mike McGrath loves that.
Absolutely. Andrew Quam attacks here and banks it in against Cochran. And Gustavus back on the scoreboard, trailing by 10.
Couple straight good shots. The elbow jumper from the one end, then Quam off glass with the kiss to get to double digits.
Philip Lawrence's third time in double figures in 4 postseason games. Regan works through, whips it back out, and finds Cochran. Maroons have to reset, 10 on the shot clock. Barry all the way, and the drive, and the score!
As soon as he got past Carson Cook, he knew he had a clear path to the basket. No one stopped him.
Here's a no-look pass into a 3 for Schmidt.
My goodness, the scoring coming fast and furious now, and Schmidt finally hits the 3 that he's been looking for pretty much the whole NCAA tournament. Watch out if he gets hot.
Lawrence gets downhill. The pace still frenetic as Pitt gives it back to Barry. Will Barry drive again? This time he gives it up. Regan on the Maroons tee, left of center circle. Works it inside. That's a bad pass, and it's taken away. Schmidt's got the ball right back. Turns it back around. Wolf sidesteps. Pitt sends a 3. That's an air ball. Out of bounds. It's UChicago basketball.
There we see UChicago making a pass more like what we saw in the first half, where they telegraph it, and the Gusties are able to hop on it, but that back at the other end, that's the state of the Gusties offense right now. Just not a lot of confidence for anyone other than Barnett. The air ball takes us into the media timeout.
Under 8 to go, 75-66. UChicago leads from the Ratner Athletic Center. UChicago 75, Gustavus Adolphus 66. With 7:56 to play left in this Sweet 16 matchup. We talked a lot in the open about rebounding, and UChicago has taken control of the rebounding battle, 27-14 now in the overall game.
And for all the things that Regan can do, we don't talk a lot about his rebounding ability. 7 assists, also 2 rebounds. We mentioned Roper. He's been playing a little bit more down low, at least at the start of this second half. He leads the way for UChicago with 8 rebounds right now. Not a lot of rebounds to be had when you have 2 teams shooting this well. Gustavus shooting 51% for the game. UChicago now up to 59% on the contest. And the pace of this game has been part of the reason that we haven't seen a lot of those rebounds. But the teams are getting out on the break after they get a defensive board. And both of these squads can play with pace. In the first half, we saw more of it out of Gustavus. UChicago has picked up the tempo here in the second half, and it's worked out for him.
The trap comes for Joe Barry, who's in a lot of trouble, and he knocks a man over. Quam had it, knocked himself over, and Kana got the ball out of the trap. Pretty lucky no call there if you're Joe Barry. Got to take advantage of this. Now Regan works it over. Kana finds a look. No good. And the rebound off the hands of Barnett into the hands of Carson Cook. Barnett downhill on Roper. He's contacted. He finishes through that contact and has set a new career high with 30 points.
Yeah, once you get to 30 points, you know you're one of the best players in the country when you're doing that in a round of 16 game. Contact on both ends, no call. In the end, it's going to be a physical game when you're playing at this level. You know what? You just have to play through it, and there, the Gusties were able to take advantage.
Roper had some hand fighting. Regan launches a long pass. Won't result in an open shot. Regan, stutter step attack, high lob, and don't know where that was going, but it was not into the hands of Nick Roper. Another UChicago turnover, their 13th.
Looked like it might have just slipped out of the hand of Regan. You know, it was interesting, too. The Golden Gusties come out of the timeout, and they come into that trap. They didn't trap on that last possession. But sometimes I'm a fan of a timeout when a team goes to a defense like that. We see a tipped pass on the part of UChicago here, but it'll be a recovery for the Golden Gusties in Barnett. That shook up UChicago a little bit, and that might change some of the momentum for the Golden Gusties just going to the trap on that one possession.
Quam for three, and it's good. We got a 4-point ball game.
And look at how the momentum changes just because of that trap. And no, the trap didn't result in a steal. UChicago still got a shot on that possession, but it changed the feel of the basketball game, just the one trap coming out of that one timeout.
UChicago's offense and another turnover. Regan throws it away again. It is his 6th turnover of the game, and the Gusties get it back again.
Sometimes it's about technique, sometimes it's about the sets that you're running, but I looked at Mike McGrath after that turnover by Shane Regan, and he knows he's got a veteran presence in the graduate student in Regan, a transfer from Wesleyan out in Connecticut. He just had to say to him, hey, calm down. That's all we need out of you right now is just to calm down and play sharper basketball.
Nick Groper is the Barnett matchup. Now a long three for Schmidt is too long, and it's Regan with the rebounds. Regan trying to work himself out of trouble, and he is fouled by Barnett.
For all the things that haven't been called in the last few minutes of this basketball game, that one does. But when you're knocking a player along the sideline where he really doesn't have many other options, a lot of the time the officials will make that call. You can see on screen right now Miles Barnett going over to talk this over with the official after we get the replay out. He's saying, hey, what did I do there? And he's saying it was just too much body contact, and that puts the Maroons into the bonus.
Quam out, Beauchamp and Regan for a 1-and-1. His first rattles home. 14 for Regan, 5 of 9 shooting, 3 rebounds and 7 assists. He's been throwing it all over the yard to mixed results. And his second makes it a 6-point game with under 6 minutes to go.
When he goes and watches the film, he's not going to feel like this is one of his best games of the season. But you know what? As one of 5 UChicago Maroons in double figures right now, he has to know that his teammates have picked him up today.
No help for Barry here defending Barnett. He forces the block, and Barnett puts it back and draws the foul. Barry played stout defense but couldn't come up with a loose change, and that will send Miles Barnett back to the free throw line.
Interestingly, Barry with 2 blocks last weekend. UChicago not a team that blocks a lot of shots, and partly because they don't have a lot of size necessarily. They're a little bit bigger than this Golden Gusties team, which is also a little bit smaller, but it's also, again, that defensive discipline. They don't chase after opportunities like that. There it was right in front of him. Only problem was he knocked it right back to Barnett, who was then able to make a move and get to the line.
We encourage you all to tune in at 8 p.m. tonight for UChicago against UW Oshkosh in the Elite Eight. Michelle Gardner-Bielik's team looking for their first ever Final Four appearance. Barnett is 2 for 2.
32 net points now in the game for Barnett. Yeah, best of luck to the UChicago Maroons women's basketball team as they make their way up the freeway into Wisconsin. Take care on the roads if you're heading up to the Colf Sports Center tonight. Snowy conditions in the state of Wisconsin, but if you are heading up for that one, hey, have a good drive, enjoy that night. If you're not, check it out on NCAA.com.
Roper works back to Kanaa, 8 on the shot clock. Kanaa keeps, steps back. Gonna have to throw one up here. Got it!
Taking a 3 off the dribble like that is a move that a senior out of Atlanta can make, and a lot of other players can't.
Barnett on Roper, throws it out. Here's a 3 ball, and it's buried by Beauchamp.
Beauchamp kind of shrugged after he hit that one. He's like, hey, we just needed an answer, that's it.
80-76. This is coming down to the wire in Hyde Park. We'll take a break and be back on NCAA.com. Welcome back to UChicago basketball on NCAA.com, where these two teams continue to trade punches. 23 combined three-pointers made.
Well, you say trade punches. I'm going to use the term shooting match, as in literally both of these teams are hitting shots at both ends of the floor. It's a game where everything is falling right now, and it's not necessarily that either team is playing bad defense. It's that the shooters have gotten into it. They've gotten into the rhythm, both for UChicago and for Gustavus. It's going to be a matter of which team can get to the line more often and can force more turnovers. And again, with some of the physical play that's being allowed, that might be something to note. Also something to note, that was Gustavus' timeout. They only have one left.
Regan high, and it's no good. He gets his own miss, puts it back up and in. He now leads all Maroons with 17.
He's starting to take over late in this one, and that's no surprise if you know something about this Maroons team.
Barnett battling Roper, and a foul goes up before the shot on Nick Roper.
Barnett wanted the foul to be called on the second contact that was made rather than the first. It was unfortunate for him that it was called on the first because that came before he went into the shooting motion. If it had come on the second, he'd be at the free throw line for an and one.
It is free throws the rest of the way for Gustavus. That was UChicago 6. Barnett right back to work on Roper. Turning, passing it this time, and it works his way out to Beauchamp. Long pass, and it's inside. Rowe, and Barry goes flying over the back and commits his fourth personal foul on Schmidt. And he is down.
Yeah, we're going to have to see what the situation is for Barry here.
Well, first, he's got to get up.
Yeah, because he went down hard. He went over the back
Daniel Cochran pulls him to his feet.
Of Jake Schmidt. Yeah, it's a hard foul, and it's what you have to do in that situation when you're that far behind the player. You've just got to come in with force, try and disrupt, see if you can prevent the basket from being scored, and he just went over the top of the player and landed hard. Looks like he's up and okay. But hey, if you're Gustavus, you like this. You get Schmidt under the basket. You're able to get him an opportunity, and that's another option that maybe springs Barnett later on in this contest.
2 hits would make it a 4-point game here for Jake Schmidt. His first, no good.
It's been a rough tournament for Jake Schmidt, and he came in as the top free throw shooter for the Golden Gusties, hitting on 86.3% of his shots from the charity stripe. But that's a big miss for him there.
4:21 to play. Schmidt makes it a 5-point game. UChicago 82, Gustavus 77. Roper having some trouble here on the inbound, and a foul committed by Gustavus. Andrew Quam with the bump.
That's an interesting foul because that foul was called right on the baseline, almost off the floor, and it would have been an option for UChicago. Now, in that situation, because you can traverse the baseline with the basketball, if you want, you can actually make a pass out of bounds if you choose to before the inbound pass. That is legal there, and that could have been something that UChicago went to, but instead you get the foul because of the contact along the baseline, and the first of 2 is good for Shane Regan.
Regan's now got 18 points. 6 of 11 shooting, 2 of 4 from 3. 4 rebounds, 7 assists.
Yeah, after a made free throw or a made basket, you can traverse the baseline. If it's an out-of-bounds play where the ball goes out of bounds, then you're stuck to a spot.
Barnett got past Roper right off the rip, and Barnett works it out. Finds an open man. Azura, this is a free throw. Got it.
Boy, you can't leave someone like Azura that wide open. We talked about it at the very start of the broadcast. He hits on 65.5% of his three-point shots. When he has no one around him, it's almost automatic.
Regan passes it out of the trap. It goes inside to Roper. Back out, Cochran. And a hard collision, and now a late whistle. Gustavus with the blocking foul. It's Azura.
Little insult to injury there for Azura. As he closed out, he lost his balance. Then he had to try and move backwards. As a result, just a little bit of contact. He gets called for the foul for being out of position and off his feet.
It comes down to this final 3:53. UChicago 84, Gustavus 80 from Ratner. Welcome back to UChicago Basketball on NCAA.com. UChicago 84, Gustavus 80. And this game's going to come down to the wire. UChicago is no stranger to these kinds of games.
With both of these teams having a good collection of free throw shooters, if it becomes a battle at the free throw line, for the most part, the score's probably going to about stay where it is. If there's anything UChicago has done here in this second half, it's two things. Number one, they've taken better care of the ball. They had 8 turnovers in the first half. They only have 6 so far here in the second half, and they've come at less key times. Secondly, they've done a better job of controlling Barnett. And it's weird to say that about a guy who's currently got 32 points in the basketball game. But remember, he got to those 32 points relatively recently, and before that, it was quite a while that he was stuck at 28 and 30. He hasn't been as much of a factor in the last few minutes, and UChicago has been able to build this lead back up to 5 and maybe 6 with the second and 2.
Cochran sinks them both. UChicago this year, 12 wins and a loss when they score at least 80 points. Gustavus a perfect 17-0, and they're unbeaten away from their home gymnasium. Barnett battling Lawrence. Barnett reverses, and one.
I had to say something. I had to evoke the broadcaster's curse. Look at that. They go back to Barnett because, of course, they do. And now he's got 34 in the basketball game. He's demolished his career high, and he's trying to carry Gustavus into the round of 8 on his back solo.
He will play Mary Washington or UW Lacrosse. If they can complete this comeback, UChicago led by as many as 12 in the second half. One possession game, 86-83 after the made free throw by Barnett gives him 35. Regan crosses the timeline. Feeds it Lawrence right side. Hasn't missed a shot yet today. Goes back to Regan. 13 to shoot. Regan crossing up a couple times. Gives to Cochran. Rolls down. Regan sends a 3. That's surrounded out. Rebound Carson Cochran Gustavus.
Well defended by Barnett.
They can tie with a 3. Barnett with 35 points. Azura calling for the ball. He'll get it. Matched up on Lawrence. Azura now turns it back around for Quam. Under 3 to play. Quam downhill. Feed. Barnett drive. Throws back out to Cook. To Cook. 6 to shoot. Schmidt. Sidesteps. Fade away. 3. Air ball. And that'll be a shot clock violation and a Gustavus turnover.
Schmidt was just inside the three-point line, but he was falling away. It was a tough shot any way you sliced it. And hey, you know what? Both teams are able to get stops on defensive possessions at this point in the game. I'll tell you what, the next team that gets a basket is going to get a lot of momentum in this contest. UChicago hoping that it's them. The Golden Gusties hoping to get another stop and head back to the other end.
2.5 to go. Nick Roper bumping off of Barnett. Now Regan goes downhill. Regan pulls up and sticks it in. 21 for Regan, Maroons by 5. Barnett the other way. Attacking Roper. Another and one.
37 points in the ball game for Barnett. Roper now with 4 fouls in the basketball game for UChicago. They've tried all day long to come up with a formula to stop Miles Barnett. The only one who's been able to slow him down has been himself when they've tried to go to other options. The Golden Gusties haven't been as successful. Don't be surprised if every time down the floor from here on forward, if the Golden Gusties don't need a 3, they're going to have the ball in Miles Barnett's hands near the hoop.
2 Maroons in foul trouble, 4 on Berry, 4 on Roper. 38 for Barnett, and a timeout called to substitute Noah Pitt into the game. He has been one of the more effective defenders of Miles Barnett, but it's a small sample size, and it's very hard for any player in America to consistently beat him one-on-one.
Yeah, the question is, what combination of skills can you put against Barnett in order to defend him? Actually, UChicago's had better success with size than they have with speed.
The visiting crowd gets loud. Berry turns it around, finds Regan. 21 of the day for Regan. Works around a screen, 12 to shoot. Regan downhill, throws it out. Cochran 3, short. Tipped out by Pitt. Cochran rebound, goes downhill himself. He goes and one.
And it starts with the offensive rebound by Pitt. Just that tip out to keep the ball in UChicago hands, and that turns into 2 and maybe 3 more points.
The clutch shots continue. Daniel Cochran heading to the line. He's 2 for 2 today. 1:48 to play. His free throw is good. Chicago by 5. Miles Barnett with 38 doesn't have an answer. He's matched up with Noah Pitt. Hasn't beaten him one-on-one yet today. Barnett, shimmy shake, attack, right hand, and 1.
Barnett now with 40 in the basketball game. Pitt with his second foul of the contest. Not sure what Pitt thought happened there. He reached for his elbow as if Barnett had did something to him. Barnett, it'll look clean from our perspective up here. Pitt with that size is able to at least contain Barnett a little bit more. But you know what? Barnett with that up and under move, just too dangerous.
Barnett's free throw is no good. And a foul. No, he stepped on the baseline and Roper turns it over. Oh, Azura got Roper in the back. It wasn't called, but what was called was Roper putting a foot out of bounds and a critical turnover for Chicago.
Nick Roper will get a quick breather right here for Chicago. You know who the Golden Gusties are going to get the basketball to here. It's Miles Barnett well outside the arc, but he's going to take it inside himself. Just watch. Actually, no, he'll hand it off. I'm willing to bet he's going to get it back at some point, though.
Andrew Quam feeds to the interior. Cook puts it in. It's a 1-point game.
Golden Gusties making me look silly up here as a color commentator, going to a secondary option at just the right time to make it a 1-point game.
Imagine what the players are thinking. Regan, downhill, turned it over, unless Canuck can recover. Cochran is tripped and fouled.
Oh, and we're going to have to see about Daniel Cochran because he got his leg rolled up on. That's the sort of thing you see in football with offensive linemen. Fortunately, he bounces back up to his feet. Looks like he's going to be okay. We will get that foul against the Golden Gusties. Got to say it here because we got to slip it in at some point, even with 1:02 left in this very exciting basketball game. One of the best performances in Gustavus Adolphus basketball history today by Miles Barnett. 40 points for him in this contest. He has done everything under the sun to try and keep this season going for Gustavus.
Cochran connects on the first, the 2-point game, and a timeout called off of that make. 1:02 to go. We'll stay here.
That foul was called against Barnett, by the way. He has 3. In terms of foul trouble, you've got Joe Barry and Nick Roper with 4 fouls for Chicago. For Gustavus, you've got 3 players with 3 fouls, so it's not that much of a concern at the moment. Ultimately, it's still about running possessions. Chicago has taken more time with the basketball when they've had it in their last few possessions. However, Gustavus, you know what? You've been down for how much of the second half? Almost the entirety of it after you were up for most of the first half. Again, Barnett is the number 1 option, but as we saw in that last offensive possession where the Golden Gusties got points, don't forget about some of the other guys that are out there. Boy, we've talked all day long about how Jake Schmidt has struggled during this tournament, but would this not be the biggest of possible times for him to come up big? You've got Wolf, you've got Azura, you've got Quam. They've got other options they can go to, in addition to Barnett, who has gotten it done today to the tune of 40 points.
The all-time Gustavus Adolphus scoring record for a game is 45. Seth Anderson against Buena Vista on November 15th of 2011. This would have much higher stakes.
There's a big difference between a game on November 15th and one played under the March Madness banner in the Division III ranks. What a day for Miles Barnett. He's just a junior. Imagine the fear he's going to strike in the rest of the MIAC next year. And keep in mind, he's the MIAC Defensive Player of the Year, in addition to putting up 40 points today.
Daniel Cochran trying to make it a 3-point game. He does. Gustavus can tie with a 3 or an all-too-common Miles Barnett and 1. Buries the matchup. Barnett works it back out. Schmidt to the corner. Izuna downhill, and it's good as Nick Roper did all he could to put hands on that ball. We're back to a 1-point game.
Chicago does have 2 timeouts to use if they need them. If they start getting into some trouble, if Gustavus traps, they can use a timeout here. Gustavus only has 1.
And that is what Coach Mike McGrath will do. 36.7 to play. Chicago clinging to a 1-point lead, 93-92. We'll take our final break and be back on NCAA.com. Back at the Ratner Athletic Center, it is down to the wire. U Chicago 93, Gustavus 92. U Chicago ball with a 21-second shot clock.
A lot of nervous faces on the fans here at the Ratner Athletic Center, whether or not they're wearing maroon or they're wearing Golden Gusties black. If I'm Mike McGrath in the huddle right now, you look at the clock. There's a 15-second differential between the game clock and the shot clock. That's going to be more than enough time for Gustavus if they get the basketball. So, to be honest, hey, I'm just trying to run a solid offensive set that's going to get me points over the course of the next 21 seconds. Maybe that means Shane Regan. He's leading the way with 21 points right now, and he's been your top option all year long. Maybe that's Daniel Cochran with both teams in the double bonus. If Cochran can get to the free throw line, he's your best free throw shooter. Let's see what they drew in the sand as we try and decide who's going to Fort Wayne.
Kana, Regan, Cochran, and Roper all on the floor, all with 15 or more points today. U Chicago, 15 three-pointers made, but it's Joe Barry who gets the inbounds. Man-to-man defense from the Gusties. 13 to shoot. Kana long behind the back to Regan. Cochran comes over. Regan goes to work, knocks a man over, offensive foul, and Gustavus will have a chance to win it.
That's that same play where we talk about the vector and the angle. Yes, he was moving his feet, but at the same time, he was on the vector that Regan was trying to go on. That's an offensive foul call, and now Gustavus might have one shot to win it. They have a timeout if they need it, but they might not use it if they get an opportunity.
DeGroot has one timeout left. Barnett on Regan. 7 seconds and a timeout called as Barnett saw that play going nowhere, and with 6.4 to go, Gustavus will draw up one final play.
There's a lot of different philosophies when it comes to this. And in modern basketball, a lot of coaches have decided that, hey, they'd rather both trust their team on the floor and work with the chaos of the defense perhaps anticipating a timeout and let things play out. But you know what? I like this situation because you know what? You've got a reliable option in Barnett, and you've got some secondary options that late in this contest have shown that they can score the basketball. This is your chance as a coach like Justin DeGroot to bring your team over and say, we're going to run our best play over the course of the next 5 seconds to try and get one opportunity. And if it doesn't work out for us, let's try and get a tip and see if we can win that way.
93-92, Gustavus out of timeouts in the double bonus, so any foul will result in 2 free throws. Gustavus, a stellar 13 of 16 from the line in this game. Miles Barnett, 8 of 9.
Mike McGrath certainly telling his team, try not to foul, but that doesn't mean you want to get timid on defense. You've got to try and force the issue. Goodness knows, Barnett going to the basket is probably the number one option you have to think about if you're U Chicago. No, you don't want to foul him, but no, you don't want to give him an easy path either.
It is the 5 starters for U Chicago. It is not for Gustavus. They have Obina Izura on the floor. Barnett is on the right wing, and Joe Barry is his matchup. 6.4 to go. Inbound Barnett. Throws it off of Barry. It'll stay here with 4.8 to go. And that gets the inbound further down the court.
Think Barnett didn't like the situation there, said, you know what, let's just try this again.
Let's go to the interior, he says. Long pass, and Barnett receives. Deep three! No good! On the rebound, Izura! Maroons win this game!
Chicago 93, Gustavus 92. Fans, that completes today's such small game. Our final score, once again, Chicago 93, Gustavus 92.
U Chicago's magical run continues on to Fort Wayne. They reach their second Elite Eight in school history in a marathon thriller of a game.
You have to think that wasn't what the Golden Gusties wanted. That's a shot from deep that's not a high percentage shot. It is a shot that gives you at least a chance at an offensive rebound, but even what they got was just a fling at the basket. It starts with the defense on the first inbound pass where Barnett has to throw it off of one of the Maroons out of bounds, because that then negates that play option and forces the Golden Gusties to run a different play. The long inbound pass well beyond the arc. They're a little out of sorts. They don't get a good shot. And Chicago with that little bit of D. Don't discount that 1 second worth of defense right there. That might be what earned them a spot in the Elite Eights.
A standing ovation for the Maroon fans who came to watch this game and the team who has just delivered one of their most incredible wins in school history. And for the second time since they joined D3, they will play for a spot in the Final Four. 93-92, your final score. Chicago takes down Gustavus Adolphus. And that will conclude their home schedule for the 2025-26 season. We thank you all so much, everyone who tuned in to the 13 home games this season. And 3 more games separate Chicago from a D3 national championship. They'll head to Fort Wayne next week.
Hey, quick thing, too. Seeing a lot of the looks on the Gustavus fans right now, obviously disappointed, but you know what? You can tell also, too, there's a few smiles because they know they couldn't have competed any harder than they did in this basketball game. And even with the loss, Miles Barnett, one of the best performances you're going to see throughout college basketball in the country today. 40 points for Miles Barnett in this contest. He destroys his career high by 11, puts the Golden Gusties on his back, and in this high-scoring affair, he was by and far the best scorer on the court among everyone. One of 3 Golden Gusties in double figures, but no one comes even close to his total. The next closest player on the floor, Shane Regan with 21 points. Chicago with greater depth of scoring, but Miles Barnett, boy, he looks like a superstar in the making at the D3 level. Great game for him. Great season for the Golden Gusties. They gave it their all. You can't lose by any less than this, but Chicago moves on.
That's up there with Justin Allen last year, now at Green Bay, formerly of Carnegie Mellon, one of the best individual games we've seen, but it is a testament to Chicago that unlike that Allen game, they persevered. They had their scoring spread out. Kanawha, Regan, Cochran, Roper with 15 plus each, and everybody chipped in to help Chicago reach heights that are just rare air for Mike McGrath's team.
And it's not just the depth of scoring. We talked about it in the first half. There was real adversity that Chicago faced. They were down 14, and it wasn't just that. They were turning the ball over. 8 turnovers in the first half compared to just 1 forced on the part of Gustavus Adolphus. Chicago wasn't playing good basketball in the first half. Let's just say it straight out. But they kept their poise. They cut the lead down to 1 by halftime with some good play at the end of the first half. They took the lead right away in the second half. And yeah, you know what? It was a shooting match in the second half, really, with both of these teams putting up big-time point numbers. 52 points in the second half for GAU. Chicago, 54 points to win the basketball game. But you know what? There's a phrase that a certain basketball coach that I like to follow quite a bit up in Milwaukee by the name of Shaka Smart, my second reference to Marquette today, likes to use a lot. Win anyway. Doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you have more points on the scoreboard at the end of the game. Chicago found a way. Regan came up big in the second half, 7 of 13 shooting. 5 Chicago players in double figures. Kenna with 15, Cochran with 18, Roper with 16. He struggled at the start of the game, but really turned things around. Lawrence with 11. It was a team victory for Chicago, and they earned this victory against a Golden Gusties team that gave them everything they had in their tank.
3 more wins anyway, and the Maroons are national champions. They'll head to Fort Wayne to continue their magical season. This is the 4th 24-win season in school history. Should they win next week, it'll be their first 25-win season since they became a Division III institution, as the players begin to file back into the locker room to even more applause.
Yeah, they're going to put the Chicago label on the bracket over there, and that's always a great scene. And boy, Mike McGrath, I mean, you can say all kinds of great things about a coach that's won 381 games. There's the slap of the Chicago sticker onto the bracket, and there will be a lot of guys hopping up and down and taking pictures of that with their cell phone. Not quite on there straight. Looks like it's on kind of like about a 15-degree angle, so maybe we'll fix that.
It's a metaphor.
Yeah, exactly.
But didn't have to win this game on the straight and narrow, but you won this game anyhow, and you are moving on.
To coach this team in such a manner that they can handle adversity like what they faced today, where they come out. And again, I'm going to say it. And, we're here on the part of Chicago as the host institution for this game, but we're here to call it like we see it. Chicago came out a little bit flat-footed in this contest. They didn't know what to expect out of Gustavus, and Barnett, with his speed early on, was a step faster, again, than everybody else on the floor. But they made the adjustments needed. They figured out what they had to do. They took everyone else largely out of the game except for Barnett, who was just unconscious, 16 of 21 today. And they found the way to get the victory, and that's what good teams do.
That'll be all for us. Chicago moving on a 93-92 win over Gustavus Adolphus College. This has been Chicago Basketball on NCAA.com. He's been Dan Pfeiffer. I've been Graham Dunwoody, and thank you for watching.